I've been coming to Pattaya for over 20 years, and one thing is finally clear. The place didn't change because of mystery, or morality, or new tourists. It changed because the marketplace changed. Behind the neon, behind the nostalgia, Pattaya has always been a simple system of supply and demand. And when the core product weakens, the entire structure moves with it. These are the four forces that broke the old Pattaya marketplace, and why the experience will never be the same again. I didn't come to Pattaya for cheap beer, beaches, or bright lights. I came here for something I couldn't find at home. Younger, attractive women who actually seemed open to being your girlfriend, even for a short time. For years, Pattaya ran on one brutal economic fact. There were more young available women than there were Western men. Supply was greater than demand, and that made everything feel easy. You didn't compete. You just walked into a bar, and there was always someone new. It was a buyer's market. Then, the internet and the smartphone changed everything. Younger women no longer needed the bars. They could earn online, find sponsors, or build a different life without standing under neon. And when that younger supply left and never got replaced, the main commodity that men traveled for quietly disappeared. That's where the decline really begins. Pattaya didn't just feel cheap in the old days, it genuinely was. The pound was strong, the dollar was strong, the euro was strong, and the baht was weaker. Working-class men and older men on fixed incomes could come out here and live like a king. They could treat Pattaya like a playground, because their money went a long way. But over the last decade, the entire equation flipped. The baht strengthened, Western currencies weakened, and global inflation kicked in at the same time. Suddenly the same beer, the same hotel, the same meal cost 30, 40, 50% more in real terms. And the internet created something else nobody expected: price parity. Once everyone could see what a Western man paid in his own country, local expectations shifted. A beer in Bangkok can now cost more than a beer in London, and the prices women ask for increasingly track Western standards, not Thai ones. So the exchange rate shock didn't just make Thailand more expensive, it made it feel no cheaper than home. For many visitors, it felt like everything had doubled in price. And the core demographic, older American, British, and European men, felt it the hardest. They shortened trips, came less often, and spent more cautiously when they were here. So at the exact moment supply was collapsing, demand collapsed with it. Not because people stopped liking Pattaya, but because their money stopped working the way it used to. This is the part of the decline you can actually see on the street. The product disappeared, but the buildings didn't. The units, the beer bar complexes, the shop houses, they all stayed. So the bars didn't really close, they were recycled. And the only people who consistently make money in that cycle are the landlords. A bar fails, the tenant leaves, and another dreamer steps in, thinking he can bring back the old Pattaya. The landlord collects the rent either way. Meanwhile, the city has moved on. Prime land is now worth more as malls, condos, and hotel chains than as nightlife. So the bars get pushed into side streets and down market pockets, while operating costs keep rising. Rent, wages, utilities, everything around. Bars raise prices not out of greed, but out of desperation. The nightlife that remains becomes dependent on dreamers, not customers. And with no real supply on one side and weak demand on the other, the infrastructure itself becomes the product. The business isn't the bar anymore. It's the ability to rent the shell of the bar to the next man in line. This is what a structural failure looks like. The physical city keeps evolving, but the old model can't evolve with it. What really broke Pattaya was not just the supply collapsing. It was the demand becoming completely distorted. When the number of young, attractive women dropped, the whole system flipped overnight. Suddenly, every man was chasing the same few women, and Pattaya went right back to being a sausage fest. Competition returned, but the supply didn't. And when something becomes scarce, people start overpaying. One guy dropping 5,000 baht resets the price for everyone. The women don't remember the average. They remember the highest bidder, and the bar's price around that fantasy, not around reality. Then the new tourist demographics arrived, first-timers from India, China, Korea, people who never saw the old Pattaya and don't know the old prices. They just assume this is what it costs. So their spending becomes the new baseline. Now, the market has no rules. Most nights are dead, but every so often a whale wanders in and throws money around, and the whole system inflates again. It's impossible for the bars to stabilize, and impossible for normal customers to enjoy the place. The nightlife becomes winner takes all. A few bars and a few women making all the money and everyone else struggling. And here's the painful truth. The people who complain that Pattaya is too expensive are the same people who made it expensive. Overpaying didn't keep the magic alive. It killed it. When you look at Pattaya today, it's easy to blame one thing: the bars, the prices, the tourists, the nightlife. But the truth is all four pillars collapsed at the same time. The supply of young, attractive women disappeared first, and demand didn't fall with it. Men still wanted the same thing they always wanted. But you can't manufacture more 20-year-olds. You can't scale beauty. The supply was human, and once it shrank, it was gone. That's inelastic supply. The fantasy ended the moment the abundance disappeared. Then the currency flipped, and men who used to live like kings suddenly couldn't afford the same experience. The economics moved on long before the tourists realized it. Then the cost of running a bar exploded. Rents rose, electricity rose, inflation hit, and landlords kept recycling the same dead units to the next dream. The bar model didn't fail morally. It failed financially. And finally came the demand-side collapse. Overpaying, new tourists with no baseline, price distortion, winner-takes-all dynamics, a handful of bars thriving while the rest quietly die. So Pattaya didn't collapse because people stopped coming. It collapsed because the conditions that made it magical no longer exist. The bars are still here. The neon is still here. But the ecosystem that created the old Pattaya is gone. And no amount of nostalgia can bring back a market that depended on abundance, affordability, and time. In the end, Pattaya didn't change overnight. We just finally saw the economics behind the fantasy. Do you keep chasing what's gone, or do you finally see the system for what it really is? Tell me your thoughts in the comments.